Okay, both cameras are rolling. Okay, speed. Camera 3.
Yeah, what episode is this?
What's that? 1, 2, 3. That was the best one ever.
Okay.
Oh, I only had one clap.
Sound.
Yay!
Camera 1 recording.
It sounds loud. But did you ever disappear into your imagination as a booker in a fortune?
Hi everybody and welcome to episode 7 of Knights of the Round Table. This episode we're discussing The Diamond Throne, which is the first book of the Millennium series by David Eddings. That's it. We should start with introduction with first impressions, Jen.
To be honest, my first impression of the book was horrible, and I was very unhappy because I started, as you do when you're reading a book like this, you start with the prologue. My word of advice, if you're going to write a book, just don't do that. It's okay to start with a prologue, but don't try to make the prologue so overtly Tolkien-esque and so cliche fantasy and just throw in all these big words and have it in italics and make it look like this ancient thing, because it doesn't work. Like, it was so incomprehensible. It took me like 3 days to read a 20-page prologue, and I was just miserable because I'm like, if this is what the whole book is like, I can't do this. This is awful. And then I got to chapter 1, I'm like, this is great. There's wit. It's easy to read. The characters are engaging. Where the hell was this in the prologue? Because if I hadn't had to keep reading it for this, I wouldn't have.
Well, you said exactly what I was going to say.
Thank you.
The prologue felt like a really old, really badly translated fairy tale.
Yeah.
And once we started actually getting to know the real characters, I was like, well yeah, there's that weird fairy tale at the beginning. It won't be important until the end.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was entertaining.
Yeah.
Complete divergence, because I am such a nut for ancient folklore and myth and stuff. I loved the prologue in the beginning.
Okay, ancient folklore and myth is fine, but that was trying too hard. That felt so forced.
Yeah, when I first read the book, way back when I was 12, 11, something like that, I absolutely adored it. Reading it again now, reading the prologue, it was so Tolkien-esque right down to like the themes and the troll dwarf Gweri?
G-dwarf, or G-troll.
G-troll dwarf.
The troll.
The troll. Was it once sort of a Sauron and a Gollum character, but it was incredibly striking how similar the themes in the prologue were to some of the themes in Tolkien. And then when you get into the actual book, it is, yes, very different. So much easier to read, so witty. I laughed aloud lots and lots.
Oh, it was hilarious.
Yeah, Carlton has the best lines, I think.
Yeah. No, my favorite line, well, I mean, I only finished the first half of the book, but my favorite line so far is, "Can we skulk? I haven't skulked in so long." It's like, yeah, skulk away.
I have actually quotes from Carlton that I love. And one of my favorite is, "God hired me as a fighting man, Sparborg, not a monk. I fight whenever he tells me to, but the rest of my time is my own."
Yes.
When he's off gallivanting with the hookers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I really enjoyed this book. I like the style of writing. I like that it was so funny and witty. Yes.
One of the other things that I liked about it was, and this is just, me personally, I didn't go to university, I went to college, and I've always been having this argument with people, because I know a lot of, feverish academics who believe that, learning really only comes from reading and researching and stuff like this, and so I really loved that, what's her name, didn't read. It was very...
Oh, Sabrina.
Yeah, because it was like, that's a nice change, because she's such a very... Well, again, going back to Tolkien, she's such a very Galadriel character, but she, it made me feel good. I'm like, see, there are many kinds of knowledge, and it doesn't always have to come from book learning.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was good.
I really liked the interaction between the characters.
Yes.
I think I would have been okay just skipping everything but the dialogue for most of it. Because there was some, like you said, amazing lines.
Yeah.
I like the one about the face. He said, "Is it my face?" When
Oh.
everyone's not telling him something.
Yeah.
She said, "No, it's a fine face." I said, "Well, it keeps my skull in."
Yeah, it covers the front of my head. What more can you ask of a face?
It
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
felt like a family dynamic, something
Yes.
that
Yes.
reminds me a little bit of Firefly.
Yeah.
The
That's
rest
true.
of the book reminds me, I didn't read Tolkien until I was in late high school,
Yeah.
so it really reminds me of the early D&D books that I started reading.
Oh,
Stuff
yeah.
by Ed Greenwood or Mystera, those older books. And it really felt like he wanted the Sterix to be elves.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
See,
he didn't want to make them elves.
Yeah.
I'm coming from a completely different academic background where, for me at least, the Styrics were the original insular Europeans who the Aryans were supposed to have displaced in the Iron Age. That's where it came, what flashed into my head was that they really seemed like the pre-Indo-European peoples of Western Europe. And then the Eleens, to my mind, were the Aryans who came later and conquered. And even the dynamic between the two was very much what I imagined it would be between the insular Europeans and the...
I thought
If you
elves
say
too.
so. Yeah, I thought elves.
Yeah. All, mysterious and wise and
Except not all
Nature
of them
is-
were
speaking
wise,
in...
really.
Well,
Yeah. Well, there's high elves and low elves.
Exactly.
Galadriel and...
And then, you have the drunken
Boy.
elves of Mirkwood, so...
Yeah.
One of the other things I really liked is Sparkhook himself, and I'm not just saying this because he was my first ever literary crush.
I can see that, though.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But he's a church knight, and he's really grumpy and often unkind and extraordinarily petty. He's not the image of nobility and chivalry that you would expect from a knight.
Well, he has his moments.
Well, he does, but he's like casting a spell to give somebody who annoyed you a pimple.
Yeah, well,
Whereas-
that's the kind of thing I do. Stop pissing me off. Bam!
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
He was a good man, but he wasn't like Bevier, for example, which is what I would imagine the codes of chivalry would be putting up on a pedestal.
That would be really boring.
It would be really boring.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I like that about them. I like that the knights are not as squeaky clean
Yes.
as they could have been portrayed.
Yeah.
in a weird way, and I mean, I say this because I've been watching too much Mad Men recently, but in a weird way, he reminded me of Don Draper. It was like, I know, but kind of that, like what you were saying with the petty side, and he has all these faults, and you don't always expect him to be, when he comes down on something that he finds immoral or really repugnant, then it's like all out. There's absolutely no discussion. He's very firm in what he does stand for.
That actor would make a great
He kind of would.
Chris Brown. Yeah.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he would.
No.
Yes, he would.
No.
I've watched more of it than you have.
That is true.
I can see it.
One thing that I really want to stress to anyone who's going to read this book, it is not a loose series. The first book ends, and the second one's going to begin right afterwards. There's no, everything ties up. At the end, nothing is fully tied up.
Yes.
So I got to the end and I was like, no, I don't have the next one.
Oh, I do. You can borrow mine. I have the whole series.
I might.
As long as it's not fully tied up in remember Over Sea Under Stone, where there were all
Yeah.
kinds of loose ends that never got resolved.
Ever,
Yeah.
even in
Future
the rest of the series.
The other thing I was going to say was, in the beginning, when Sparhawk comes back, there is so much information that's thrown at you all at once in terms of names and places and politics and all this stuff that's been happening. And so I had to reread that a couple of times to sort things out, especially because so many names are very similar, like the name of the country and the name of the queen are very similar. So it took me a while to kind of, context helps with that too. It took me a while to sort that out. But I really appreciated that there was a fair amount of repetition in the first few chapters as they're meeting new people, and then they're saying, oh, did you hear about this? And he's like, yes, I did. So, but it wasn't superfluous, because I was like, right,
Yeah,
I
it
did
feel
learn
like
about that.
exposition.
It's, just reinforcing, there's all that stuff, and then the important things got reinforced in those first few chapters. So I thought that was a strong point because I needed that.
That was really important considering there was no annex in the back to explain things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I kept going to the
which I
back and
actually,
went,
I did
"Oh,
that too.
no."
I would flip there and then like, okay, well, I'm on my own.
Because every time they go to a new place, they add like 10 new characters, a whole bunch of names. They try to
Yeah.
flesh out a whole culture.
And you're just like,
Okay, just ignore everything. Study the bad guys' names and just go for that.
yeah. The other thing that I would have liked, along with the appendices, would be a pronunciation guide.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because there were a lot of things that I was like, okay, the G guy, this one, I just started making up names for them. Because I was like,
I've
I
decided
can't
it's
pronounce
working.
it, and if I try to pronounce it, it's going to take too much time, and I'll have to remember how I did it every time. So I just, had nicknames going for them.
I
It was
think I
just
read
easier.
too quickly. Because I
Like
kept
cartoon.
pronouncing
You
it
just kinda
Sparehawk.
Yeah.
Weird name.
It's like, oh, you've lost your hawk? Here, I have a spare. Come, let us falcon. Wasn't that funny? The other thing though is I know it's a title, but I'm sorry, anybody whose title is primate, I can never take you seriously, so stop trying.
Yeah, that actually did make me giggle both times that I read the book.
That's something that also
Primate
confused me. Was
nice.
the title of the book was the Diamond Throne, but throughout the book they refer to it as a crystal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, but so I started calling it the Crystal Throne, and my wife just kept correcting me. And I'm like, no, that's what they say in the book.
Mind you, though, it's a crystal that they can't breach, so it might as well be diamond.
Yeah,
Also,
the throne
diamond-
isn't made of it.
that's
Diamond
true.
throne sounds better than the crystal throne.
Well, then maybe you should have got a better title. The Tale of the Spare Hawk. I don't know.
Nights right around, randomly. Something happens eventually.
A story where crap happens. I don't know.
The tragic tale of Sparhawk and Alana.
Yawn.
Oh god. As if I'm the one who made the sappy comment. I'm going to go on with something that I liked about the book and then something I didn't like about the book. I love Sparhawk's relationship to his horse.
Oh my god, that
And I love that the
awesome.
horse, yes, was a character in and of itself. And was
Almost like
just
a Disney
creepy.
movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little bit.
Very
Uh,
tangled.
Yeah. I was about to say. It cracked me up. But one of the things I didn't like about the book was, and I don't know how to put this correctly, but when Sparhawk is in the camp with Ashram, is that his name? And Martel shows up. It all seems way too easy. And then in the end they come off with a sort of quasi-explanation in the story as to why it would be easy, but it just felt to me like the author is saying, yeah, I know this is kind of weak, but let's
Not
pretend
bad.
let's pretend it's part of the story. That kind of irritated me a little bit.
Well, I mean, I haven't gotten to that point in the book yet,
You'll
but
probably notice it when...
I'm sure I will, because the one that I was rolling my eyes at is when Sparhawk's overhearing the whole plot
Yeah.
in the brothel. I'm like, wow, just go through every single detail out loud. Doesn't matter who's around. It's an open business. That's okay. Just, this is,
That's a thing.
Little
Throughout
easy.
the whole book, it was almost a theme that his plans went well. Very well.
very well.
And I'm not used to that. Usually
I know,
they
it's like
go
to the point that they just kind of
terribly.
skip over the whole plan. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, that first thing, whatever, the castle they were at,
Yeah.
like the whole battle sequence was just skipped over. He yells charge, and then it's like, oh, well, here are the dead guys. Let's get rid of them and move on to the next thing. Like, it went so perfectly that there was not even a reason to talk about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Although I did kind of appreciate that at the same time, 'cause if there's no point in talking to it, leave it out.
Yeah, but it could have gone badly, or they could have at least killed off the really likable character.
Well,
They
they did kill
did.
Parisa.
No,
Yeah.
they could have killed him off on screen instead of off.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
you could
but
have
they-
seen
And if
him
it was
valiantly
and
doing
if it was a
something.
movie, they would have.
Hopefully, it's supposed to cut. Oh, he's
Hopefully.
dead now.
Let's turn this into a film so we can all watch Parasim die.
Yeah.
Aww.
But they built him up as like so calm, so nice.
Oh, well, see, that's
Not
the
really
thing
a
that
knight. And I'm like, oh man, this guy's gonna die. The
Yeah,
first
I know, right?
And then they said it in the book too.
That bothered me too, is the trope of the angelic person's the first to die.
Always.
Always. Yeah, it did rely heavily on a number of tropes. But it was fun.
It was
so
fun.
I didn't mind it so much.
It really is a very entertaining read. I look forward to reading the rest of it. Now that the Olympics are over, I might.
Sports.
You can't ask me to do anything during the Olympics.
Okay, fine. I shan't.
I was very busy.
One thing I did notice, I've been reading a lot of different fantasies recently, and this was very, very Eurocentric. Like
Yes.
everyone, despite being slightly tanner, I think they were more like Italian than actually Middle Eastern.
Yes.
Everyone was very European.
Yeah, that's been a big problem in fantasy.
As I
For
said,
a
I find that
while
with all
now.
fantasy reading.
I've been reading a lot of Tamora Pierce,
Yeah.
and she
Oh,
goes through
yes.
multiple different cultures.
Yeah, there's I forget her name, but she writes from an Arabic cultural background, and all her stuff
Oh,
is heavily
cool.
influenced by. Yeah, it's really amazing stuff, and I can't believe I can't remember her name, but I will look it up.
You can put it,
I'll put it in.
Put it in the scrolly majiggy.
yeah, under the table.
under the
Under the
table.
table.
Or it'll come up. As
Have a little picture of her
annotation.
lurking under there.
Clip art. I'm not even that talented in Photoshop, I'm afraid.
We'll work on that.
You can do it. Olympics are over. You
Oh.
have a job now.
Challenge accepted.
Oh god. Yeah, so yeah, it is very Eurocentric, but that's a big, big, big problem in a lot of fantasy. Is there anything else anyone wants to make a point on?
No, I think that's all I got.
No, my biggest problem with the book was that everything went way too well, and it felt disjointed. Like it could have been a bunch of short stories. Okay, so this
Yeah.
section ended.
There were kind of a
great.
lot of
The
nice
next short story,
conclusions.
yeah. The arcs were
I don't
way
like that.
slower than way faster than I expected. Like the whole attacking the castle,
Yeah.
primate thing. I expected that to be the whole book, and then it was a quarter, not even.
But I kind of
You
like
read too much
that.
I like that.
Where one day is 5 books.
Yeah, I like that.
I like
but
the
I didn't
speed.
like how quickly it wrapped up without any consequences, except for the bad guy.
Sometimes people get lucky.
The
They
ending,
get lucky an awful lot.
the ending's consequences were not explained. So there's a bunch of stuff that happens, including one character found crying on the ground. And it's not really fully explained why. I'm assuming it'll be explained in the future books.
Yeah, I haven't read the rest of the series yet, but from what I remember, everything is very neatly wrapped up.
Okay.
But you know that kind of makes a refreshing change, at least from my standpoint, because I feel like so many fantasy books, everything is just this long, depressing struggle, and 90% of the characters get killed off, and
That's nothing.
to the point that it feels like they're doing it because they have to, or it can't be counted as serious fantasy.
I understand, but with this it felt like it was too quick, too easy. Especially if you've got what seems to
I agree,
be,
you need a balance.
sorry, spoiler, a dark, evil god that's going against you.
Yeah.
And they don't seem to have anyone Gandalfish on their side, really, to fix the problems.
They don't really have anyone Gandalfish on their side, but
They have Galadriel-ish.
True. It just,
As I wrote down, she's Galadriel, but less frustrating.
and shorter with dark hair.
and, I mean, I'm guessing, I'm going to spoil things, I'm guessing the little girl is one of the younger gods.
That's a very good guess. Well done, yes. Sorry. Flute is one of the younger gods.
Yeah, I do agree that you need a balance. But I mean, it's nice to read something where I'm not like, why do I bother reading this? Because if I get invested, then it's not going to be worth it in the end.
Have you been watching Game of Thrones? Is that it?
No, I stopped
Just-
because it was doing that. I'm like, it's pissing me off now.
It's
She
too
hasn't
extreme.
gotten
I
to
like
it
the
already.
middle.
Yeah. Well, I haven't gotten to the Red Wedding because I don't want to.
Well, just the end of the first book, but that's a whole other episode.
If you do continue on in the series, spoiler alert, there was a death that made me bawl my eyes out.
I can deal with one.
So about the death that happens later on in the series, just be warned. I literally closed the book at that scene, put it down on my bed, walked out to the living room, and bawled my eyes out on my mother's shoulder. So just be warned.
Is it someone we've already met?
It's someone you've already met, and it's somebody I fell deeply in love with in the first book. Not in love with, like,
Not
but no,
Sparhawk.
not Sparhawk, but yeah, someone else who I adored and was awesome, and it made me very, very, very sad. On that note, if you were to give it a star rating, what you've read so far?
I've only read the first half, but so far I would give it a 4 out of 5. I am very much looking forward to reading the second half of it, whenever my health and energy allows. And really the only part that bothered me a lot was, so far anyway, has been the prologue. So if you're going to read it, just skip the prologue, you don't need it. Who cares?
I'd give it a 3 out of 5. It was good, and I'm looking forward to reading them eventually, but I didn't run out to the store and buy the next book.
Okay, yeah, I'd say for me, 3 out of 5. Mostly because it's super cheesy. There's a whole bunch of really corny moments, but it's still a really fun and entertaining read, and I highly recommend that you pick it up, but if you're looking for something deep and meaningful, you're not going to find it. So yeah, it's a good read. Do pick it up, but it's not Tolkien or Erickson, so 3 out of 5.
In other words, it's not depressing and won't make you want to slit your throat. You might actually have a good life after reading it.
Except for apparently the third book.
So yeah.
So only read the first one, whatever.
Alright, who wants to pick the book for the next?
Eric does.
Sure, why not? Destiny's Blood by
Oh,
Murray-Bergquist.
sweet.
Yay! I have this one, so
Nice.
you can borrow it. Yes, so Destiny's Blood by Murray-Bergquist. She's a local Ottawa author, so this should be really, really awesome. Thanks very much. We'll see you next time. Bye!